that were held there. So it was just natural for us, and we had been taught this in our training, escape invasion, that it was important that we establish who was senior, and that person would take charge. And there wasn't a lot he could do, but he would represent us, and he would say he would be the contact with an English-speaking North Vietnamese to tell us any of our gripes. He would be the contact, and they would know it. They didn't respond to him much, but he would take leadership. And when we were taken out to write some propaganda statement or something, and finally having to do that, they were worthless. The reason I know they were worthless is because they never tried to use them. At highest levels, they knew that it would be detrimental if they. But at any rate, he would decide our line, or how we would respond to certain requests, and we would know what they were from the guys who'd just been through it. And because we shared everything. And he said, if you have a choice, when they ask you this question, this is what we're all going to tell them.
Okay.
I'll tell you a little vignette. I was at Sante, and I was sick enough that, I couldn't hold anything down. And I had dysentery, diarrhea, and just couldn't hold anything down. And I was really sick and getting really weak to the point that I couldn't sit up on my pallet. It would take me several times before I could finally get up to a sitting position, and then even tougher to get up to a standing position, because I had to once in a while when they made me take out my bucket. But again, they recognized how sick I was, and the reason they knew it is because Render Creighton, who was Navy, was the SRO of that camp, Sante. And he passed it through our chain of communication, tapping and so on, that this is what we're going to do. Harris is very, very sick. Any English-speaking North Vietnamese that you see, you must tell them that Harris is very, very sick, and you're going to have to do something for him, or he's going to die. And the guys totally responded, knowing that they were revealing their communication capability, and that every single one of them were going to get the hell beat out of them to find out how that worked. But they did it. And sure enough, it only took about 3 days before the turnkey opened my cell door.
And he'd been sick for weeks and weeks.
Okay.
His weight was down to about 90 pounds, they think.
Wow.
Well, they looked at me under their doors, and they'd see me when I was outside and thought I weighed less than 90 pounds.
Wow. And you had said before your weight prior to entering the prison was about 160 pounds?
Yeah, and that was tough.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't fat.
No, so I mean, you're down 70, maybe more, 70 pounds.
Well, I could see every rib. My knees were much bigger than the top of my thighs. It was just, I was pretty skinny.
Yeah.
My stomach was all caved in. But they came in, And they took me out, put me in the back of a truck, and took me to some kind of aid station. And they had some tents with wooden flooring. And they had a fluoroscope. And they made me drink this white fluid. And so they could see it, where it went and what it did. And anyway, on the way back, I asked the interrogator, who spoke a little pretty good English, what did the doctor say? And he said, your intestinal tract is inflamed. And that was the only word he used. But they started at beginning twice a day, and then after 3 or 4 days, once a day, and then after that, it started, they giving me shots. And I asked them what it was, and they said vitamins. But I'm pretty sure they had some antibiotics, too. And over time, you know, I was able to hold things down and get up to my normal POW weight, probably around 110.
So did they provide any additional food or nourishment other than?
Yes, they did. Some. Didn't last long, and I shared it with my cellmate.
So you mentioned the Sante raid. What did that do for the morale of the POWs? We read about what it's done, you know, for the North Vietnamese, and that it kind of caused a panic, and they put everybody together for purposes of, you know.
Oh, we were so tickled. We were sorry. We knew it was Sante. We knew that they'd moved everyone out of Sante. Therefore, it was so-called a failure. But it wasn't. Those guys did a fantastic job of getting in there. And there was a compound of North Vietnamese soldiers, some of our old guards, and a compound, military compound, just outside the gate. They went in and took out everybody. And they crashed a helicopter in the middle of the compound, knowing that its blades were going to hit a big tree. But they knew they had to get in there fast and take out the towers. And any activity that the guards would try to counter, and then others from outside came in, and they broke the lock on every cell in the whole place. We weren't there. And so they all left. And they all got out. There was one casualty. A sergeant, when they crashed the helicopter in the compound, a fire bottle fell on his ankle and broke his leg. Or broke his ankle. That was the only major injury. And after taking out all those guards and everything, and there was a wonderfully planned and executed thing. And when we heard about it, we were, it was the biggest morale booster, that we knew they cared and that they were going to do something for us. And when the North Vietnamese reacted by sending us all back to the Hanoi Hilton and put us in these big cells, we were jumping up and down with joy, seeing our buddies that we knew so well through the walls. And shall I tell them about stores?
Oh, yeah. Smitty, well, this is a double story, really. After the fellows all came home, we saw this tall blonde lady, and Smitty went over and he recognized this girl had to be Ron Storrs' daughter, because he had...
Her middle name was Storrs. She had all three names.
But anyway, Smitty, while he was in Briar Patch, had communicated through the wall, and Smitty had shared this story with me, and I love this story. It's one of my favorites. And it shows you how they kept their humor. They were all in solitary confinement all during that time, and they would...
We were the only